if you've been injured in an accident that was not your fault, what compensation can you claim? Today, Andy Roberts and Fiona Sims of Poole Alcock Solicitors explain what you would be entitled to claim.
There is no fixed scale of compensation for injuries. Each case is assessed on its own merits, having regard to the severity of the injury suffered, any long-term consequences, whether or not there's any scarring or psychological injury. When people contact us after they've had an accident, they've often incurred out-of-pocket expenses in addition to the injury which they've suffered. If the accident was somebody else's fault, then there's often an insurance company that will meet the cost of those expenses and pay compensation for the injury. I recall one client who was offered £6,000 for a fractured hip, but with our help and assistance, we successfully recovered £24,000, which was a true reflection of the injury suffered and the expenses incurred by him.
The main types of compensation are for pain and suffering as a result of the injury, any loss of earnings, whether it be past or future losses, any damage to your property, say your vehicle, any treatment costs, whether they be for psychological or physical injuries, and then finally out-of-pocket expenses such as travel expenses. These types of compensation are quite easy to calculate, and you can retain things such as receipts to evidence them.
The impact of an accident on a person's ability to work can have devastating consequences if they're not being paid.
In the cases of serious injury, when symptoms are ongoing, it's much more difficult to calculate compensation. You need to consider whether or not the claimant's going to need day-to-day care, and also whether or not you're going to need to adapt a property to allow disabled access. That's why it's really important to get a solicitor on your side, because insurance companies are always going to try and keep your compensation to a minimum.
At Poole Alcock, we're always happy to have an informal, confidential conversation with you to discuss the merits of your case and the potential compensation to which you may be entitled. We will meet with you at your convenience, whether that's at your home or in our office, and we're happy to chat over the telephone. We offer no win, no fee in many cases, and we'll discuss all funding options with you. There's no obligation to go ahead, and if you decide not to proceed, then you will not be required to pay any cost.
For a free, informal and confidential discussion with a member of the Poole Alcock Personal Injury Team, call 01270 762 325.